Persperity Podcast. In the shadows we find our light. Through the struggles we will take flight. Healing hearts and mending minds. Together we'll leave the past behind. Welcome to Persperity Podcast, where hope is found. Voices rising up, breaking new ground. With every story shared, we grow and learn. In this journey of healing, it's our turn. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Oh yeah. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Trauma whispers, but love will shout. In this space of trust, there's no doubt. We'll explore the depths of pain and grace, finding strength in every embrace. Welcome to Persperity Podcast, where hope is found. Voices rising up, breaking new ground. With every story shared, we grow and learn. In this journey of healing, it's our turn. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Take a breath and join the ride. Together we'll walk side by side with open hearts and open minds. In this podcast space, true peace we'll find. Welcome to Persperity Podcast, where hope is found. Voices rising up, breaking new ground. With every story shared, we grow and learn. In this journey of healing, it's our turn. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Persperity Podcast, a safe space for people healing from trauma. Persperity Podcast, a safe space for people healing from trauma. Persperity Podcast, a safe space for people healing from trauma.
All right. Hello, everybody. Hello. And welcome back to another week of Persperity Podcast. As you can see, we have a new guest, a new face, new to y'all, but old to me. But let's get right into it. Welcome back to Persperity Podcast, a safe space to heal from trauma and where mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Today, I'm honored to have Stoney Allen to join me to discuss Turbulence to Triumph, the importance of emotional intelligence. Stoney will share invaluable insights on navigating life's challenges by understanding and managing our emotions. Get ready to explore how cultivating emotional intelligence can transform your journey from adversity to victory. Let's dive into a conversation that promises to empower and enlighten. All right, Stoney, you want to share anything about yourself, business, anything that you have going on right now before we get into these questions?
What do you want to know? My name is
Um,
Stoney.
Business, what do you do for a living? Like anything you want to
Oh,
share.
okay. Well, I've known Destiny for a long time, years. I'm a flight attendant now. I met Destiny. We were in the contact center. Now I'm a flight attendant. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Stoney and I, we got history. I was in the it was a summer 2015 when we met. We was
Was it?
working
It
at
sure
a
was.
Lorica. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was in the summer with my best friend, and I was still dealing with homelessness and a lot of different things, trauma and emotional things that were going on with me, that I had to come to Florida and be with my best friend. And it was a blessing that she could house me when she did. And I connected with you, and it was a blessing, still is. And
Amen.
rest was history. Stoney was a blessing. He was one of those people where it was like, hey, what do you need? You here? Like, what's going on? You need an ear? You need some food? What's going on? And so I appreciate that about Stoney.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I do want to ask, did you get a chance to send your link out to your friends and your family?
I did. I sent it to my cousin. She's gonna watch it tonight when she gets off work. And then I did send it to my friend.
Okay. All right. Got you. All right. You ready to get into some of these questions?
I'm ready.
All right. How does a lack of emotional intelligence in early life experiences contribute to development of complex trauma response?
Ooh, that's a good question. So A lot of times, it's funny that you asked that question because that's something that I actually think about all the time, a lot often. A lot of times, like growing up, more so, or in your young adult years, like young teenager
Mhm.
years, you don't think about that. You know what I mean? So you don't think that you need that. You don't think that you need you don't realize that you don't have that, or nobody has given that to you, and then you get older in your adult years and you struggle, and a lot of times you don't realize that you struggle because you didn't have that growing up, or you thought that whoever was like whoever your surroundings are that didn't show that to you, or especially an older person, that really they're moving that onto you, and you grow up and it affects your relationships that you have with your spouse or other person that you're dating, or friendship, because you're doing the same thing to them, not realizing that they didn't give that to you. Does that make sense? Like, and
Mhm.
a lot of people don't think that it affects you because you think, okay, you don't need that, but everybody needs that, and you don't think about it until you get older. That, dang, I really didn't have that. Maybe that's why I'm so mean to somebody, or I don't show somebody affection, or I don't show somebody. And affection doesn't just have to be meaning, touching. It could be emotionally, of how talk to somebody. Because
Mhm.
you were lack that, but sometimes you don't even realize that. And a lot of people struggle with that and just accept it. And in reality, it's a problem, but you could fix it.
It is. It is because it's like I'm a true believer that what a person has not been exposed
Right.
to, um, acts out in their behaviors. Like you'll have a person that you be like they don't know how to
Yeah.
act anywhere they go. Well, what was they exposed to?
True.
And what was they not
Hmm.
exposed to? A lot of times, like if you just place somebody in an environment for a long period of time, so they can be
Hmm.
exposed to a sense of love that even though they've never gone like had the gentle type of
Right.
love. They've had a rough type of love, that tough
Right.
love. They'll tend to actually be less aggressive and be more responsive to the gentle
True.
loving. But I know for myself, as you know, Stoney, I told you
Yeah.
my story, so it's like, and you were a part of the journey as I was going through a lot of the things I
Hmm.
was going through. But in that, it was like it was challenging for me to trust people. It was challenging for me, and it still
Yeah.
is. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't know about that, but I'm human. So things are gonna happen. Um, and it's all about continue to move forward and picking up where I left off on that healing journey and not beating
Yeah.
myself up. 'Cause I sometimes I can do that too. Yeah. Especially if you never met people who have really narrowed in on the healing
True.
journey. Because a lot of people they heal in silence, or some people feel like they're healing
Hmm.
loudly and they become motivational people. Like, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to get this together. It's like, whoa, everybody's journey
Right.
is different. That's why I tell people, with this podcast, this space is a space that you create, that you feel is your impact, motivation for yourself. And if anybody resonates with that, they
Right.
resonate.
And I think that's too, a lot of people don't understand that a lot of people are broken. You know what I mean? A lot of people are healing. What some people may have gone through something worse than others, but everybody goes through their own version of what they're going through. Like some people, everybody's trauma is the difference. Who there's no, everybody's, some are worse, some are less, some are the same. Whether it's something you grew up with, maybe it's a trauma that you're going through mentally, mental health wise, or a trauma that just what people did to you to general. So that does make it hard to trust people. You know what I mean? Because it's like you trust people, and or you get nervous the way people look at you because their journey is they lash out, or somebody else's journey is they don't trust people, or they're quiet, or they could be the most respectful person, but they come off as somebody like stuck up, or a mean person that just doesn't trust anybody. In reality, that's not it. It's you have to protect yourself too, and you're still learning things about yourself. People don't get that. Healing is hard, and people are still healing now. It doesn't matter just because you got through. I'm still healing from a lot of things. You know what I mean? That I take on, and the same thing. Everybody is different. I'm still healing from my own things and things that I never realized I had to heal from. And I'm like, why are things bothering me now? And if I was around somebody for such a long time, people sometimes, oh, he's this behavior is this or this behavior is that, and it's like, no, it's not that. It's I have to protect myself. Heal, rather it's getting away from you or getting quiet because um I know what I can say or how I'm going to react, or you know what I mean. It's going to look crazy to you, but healing is beautiful, but healing is scary, and healing doesn't always look pretty. So from the other eye, they may look at you as crazy or stuck to yourself or this is not, but in yourself, you caught yourself. Like, I know that if I don't do this, I'm going to go back to my old ways. I'm healing. I'm protecting myself. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I like that you mentioned,
Yeah.
that with that you mentioned about healing, because that has a lot to do with it. People don't understand that you're healing and you don't even know it, or
At
that you
all.
put
Because
yourself
for
in,
me,
like, you're no longer putting yourself in autopilot. You're putting yourself in manual now. You know what I mean? You know that you have to control
ooh,
yourself, because autopilot. If I'm in autopilot, I'm gonna have. I'm gonna go back to my old ways. I'm gonna cuss you out. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna act out. I don't
now,
care, and then I'm gonna make an excuse. Well, I act like this because of this, and that. At some point,
yeah.
I acknowledged what my problem was. People saw what my problem was. I got to put myself in manual, and you know, autopilot's not working.
I'm telling you, crashing out for no
Mhm.
reason, not even knowing why. But I feel like for me, I heal best when it is not in my face. If I had to be reminded that I'm healing, I'm like, if I got to be reminded, like, oh, you're not doing it, I'm glad that you're not doing that no more. Leave me alone. Don't tell me what I'm
Right,
not doing. My brain at that point is trying to figure out what I used to do that and I'm not doing it now. And now I'm gonna stay stagnant. I'm gonna be
right. Like,
confused.
why are you
Don't throw me
watching
off.
me?
Because I was talking to somebody the other day, they were like, um, they were seeing some stuff, and I told them I was like, as a person that's going through tumultuous
Mhm.
circumstances, the one thing I dislike is someone that comes up and tries that says, because I had this incident happen a couple
Mhm.
months ago, and it was this individual. She walked up to me. She said, "Hey, this is what people like, not that other
Oh Lord.
destiny. Well, I like this." I said, that kind of I was like, what? She said, yeah, this one. I was like, excuse me? Because it threw me off. To other people, they didn't take any harm to that. To me, I did. Because who are you to come and try to tell me something about me? You know
Right,
what I mean? In that sense, like in the tone that you did, or even at the same time, even if it was not a tone, it made me feel like it made me feel less than, like why would you want to make me feel like the version of myself that I didn't care much
right,
for, that I was in an unhealed place, is that I want to hear that it wasn't liked, that it wasn't cared for, or better yet, like, oh, I like this version. And it's just like, I'm still
right,
trying to understand this version of myself. I'm walking through a healing process. So now I got to take a moment and stop and process. They didn't like that version of me. What didn't they
Mhm.
like? And now I'm going, all these signals is going off, like the episode of SpongeBob when he had, I always reference this, when it was Squidward had the fancy restaurant, turned Krusty Krab to a fancy restaurant, and he told him, he asked him a question, and then all the SpongeBob started going
Oh
crazy,
yeah.
and it was like answer, yeah, and they were like, we can't answer the question, and everything just went up in flames. That was my head at that moment, like,
Yeah.
wow, I just don't understand, but I don't know. I tend to feel like people are not mindful about certain things their because of their lack of
Right.
experience with going through things. I think a lot of people that go through things do not understand there's a level of trauma. Trauma is something that happens to you, but you continue to
Mhm.
go on in life. And sometimes you have those triggers. Tumultuous circumstances have keep you bound. that keep you bound to things. You found some different things to avoid life, or you get emotional about things. Like it really keeps you handicapped,
Right.
tumultuous circumstances. So you have to take a break. Then you keep going on in life. That's why some people they judge people, and I'll be like, you went through trauma and not tumultuous circumstances, so you do not understand these
Right.
levels of understanding of how somebody could be at this level and how deep it could be for them. So that's why a lot of people are motivational speakers and shouldn't be motivational speakers. A lot of people are therapists and shouldn't be
That's true.
therapists. Or psychologists shouldn't be psychologists. Coaches and shouldn't be coaches. Because it's just like just because you've gone through some stuff does not mean that you're equipped for the deepness that comes
That's
with
true.
it. Because how deep have you met yourself? How real have you become with yourself? How many times do you meet somebody and you find an irritation and a frustration with that individual, but you instead of actually
Right.
exploring that further, you just want to dismiss it. If you call to it, why you
That
running
is
from it?
true.
I don't know. I went on a
No,
rant.
but it's true, and a lot of it's funny that you say that. A lot of people that are in position that don't need to be in the position. A lot of time they think they're okay because you're in that position. Sometimes you could be in a high position, but you need to reevaluate yourself too. You know what I mean? Because I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
most people have told somebody more. You're not only one person has told a person about themselves. You know what I mean? So maybe you need to reevaluate yourself. What is maybe there's something that you didn't learn from your own traumas or your own. Just because you got into a position doesn't mean that you're just 100% no problem.
Mhm.
Sometimes people, it doesn't matter what position you're in, you need to reevaluate yourself too. And that's why I think a lot of people in that like different field, they don't slow down. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to slow it on down
Mhm.
and take your own self. Like what is the word?
Mm.
Like you gotta breathe. Like stop and pray. Like okay, Lord, I need some me time now. What am I doing wrong? Show me what I'm doing wrong because these people are here. I think I'm fine, but these people are really calling me crazy. You know,
Yeah.
you might have been
Yeah.
good when you
Because
started, but now everybody's calling me crazy because you never realized that a lot these people are now causing me to go into my traumas, things that now I need to heal.
yeah. And there's some people I don't believe that when people say that people that are have gone through or dealing with trauma or tumultuous circumstances that God can't use them. That God can use them, but we it's a lot of times look at the
Right.
behavior opposed to the gift. Someone can be gifted and not understand that the
Right.
behavior does not tie it has a lot of it's bleeding over to the gift, to the calling that
Hmm.
you have to connect with people, to love on people and all those things. We're not
Right.
perfect. God doesn't expect us to be perfect. We have repentance, we have relationship with God and all, and to know what we should not
Right.
do. But he knew we were going to fall short of
Hmm.
with sin. But in that it's not okay to sin at all. But in that, God is going to use people that people feel like that shouldn't be used. I know it's people that look at the podcast and be like, how does Destiny get guests every week? Why is this and that? It's not for you to
Right.
understand. Because in my relationship with God, what God tells me to do is going to continue to flow the way it
Hmm.
needs to flow. Everybody is destined to do what they're supposed to do. It's either you're going, stop looking over in somebody else's bowl or somebody else's yard
Right.
and expecting it to be something that looks like what you feel like it should look like. Everybody's journey is
That's true.
different, and stop trying to nitpick and all these different things of what somebody else's journey is. It's like, come on now, my lane is my lane, your lane is your lane, and when you get in your lane, I'm a clap for you. You go above and beyond in me, and you go above and beyond. We in two
Right.
different lanes. I'm happy for you, do your thing. But I'm not gonna be happy for you is trying to make it seem like it's an issue because of what God is doing in
Hmm.
my life. You know what I mean? People get way too focused on the things that's going on in other people's lives. God got things going on for you in your life. Focus on yourself.
Amen to that one.
Yeah. You ready for another
I'm
question?
ready.
All right. Can you recall a time when your emotions felt overwhelming, and how did that experience inform your understanding of emotional regulation?
Ask that one more time.
Okay. Can you recall a time when your emotions felt overwhelming, and how did that experience inform your understanding of emotional regulation?
Yes, I can. So this actually, I was already going through a lot. So let me first say, work is hard because I'm gone mostly like 18 days out of the month and off 11. So it makes it hard to, like you were talking about earlier, how you need your personal time to yourself to kind of breathe, pray, realize, hey, I'm a person. Let me get myself together. Sometimes the job makes it hard to do
Mhm.
that. So sometimes with my own personal things that I have going on myself requires me like, hey, I need to breathe. I need to talk to the Lord. I need some me time. You know what I mean? So with work, sometimes it's very hard to do that. And last month I was actually on a 2 month line, which means I was gone for more than 18 days. And I didn't have the time to breathe, get to myself. I know how I am and how I need to breathe sometimes and pray and whatnot. I didn't have that, so of course I'm at work and I'm in the air for like I do international flying, so we're in the air for like 12 plus hours at a time. And being away, it's like day by day. People are like, hey, Stone, you all right? You all right? You good, Stony? You good? You being a little snappy with us now. You being a little mean. What's going on? And in the time, I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. This ain't the Stony we know. You know what I mean? But in reality,
Yeah,
it's I know it's. I'm like I'm trying to hold it in. Like I'm good. Like I don't even realize you guys notice that I'm about to crash out. Basically, my emotions are really up. You know what I mean? So eventually, it's like
yeah,
they did get to me, but I didn't let them see it. But that's was something that I had to use in myself to, okay, you know what, we gonna give ourselves some time to ourselves. Even if we just use that time to talk to God and say, God, you know where I'm at right now. You got to get these emotions back in order. I promise. Once I get back to
mhm,
my personal space, I'm gonna give you your time. I'm gonna give you your praise. I'm gonna get myself together. I'm gonna focus myself. But right now, Lord, you see where my emotions are. I need you to get them together because these people thinking I'm crazy. You know
yeah,
what? Does that make sense? Did that answer your question, or
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's
It
kind
did.
of like
It did.
you know where you are and where you can't go. So it's like personal time is important. If you don't have that, you're going to have broken emotions, and they're gonna take over you.
Yeah, because I tell people all the time, I get
Yeah.
overstimulated. I do. I get overstimulated, and it's a lot of places like church, for example. A lot of people like to hug and stuff. After the third hug, I'm tapped out.
Right.
I'm overstimulated. Everybody, give me a second to just breathe for a second. But it's important. And I'm gonna go back to my podcast I had with Miss Francine Williams. She was my guest a
Hmm.
couple months ago, and I told her, I said, there is times where I get to a place where I'm getting on my nerves and everybody else's nerves, and I gotta go take a nap. So them naps
Oh
hit
yes.
different as an adult, but them naps, like when you just irritated and tired of yourself, and you just irritable, I take a nap, I wake up, and then I'm
Right.
good.
Sounds about right.
I'm ready to get back with it, But hey, sometimes naps don't do it. And then I have to be in the house for the whole weekend to
Right. Put
recuperate.
yourself in
Because if
timeout.
I'm at an event and if I'm somewhere all day and it's a whole bunch of people and it's a crowd and all that, I have to look. I talk to everybody in about 2 days, 3 days. I'm tapped out
Right.
because I had to learn that. Like a lot of times with people that's going through trauma and
Hmm.
emotional circumstances, they get overwhelmed
Right.
very quickly and they get irritated. And it's like the irritation comes from being overstimulated because at that point you want to get out of the environment, but you don't want to be rude. Um, you're also dealing with anxiety because you don't know how to articulate anymore in an environment or function in an environment. So it's the easy emotion to go to is okay, I'm gonna sit here and act like I have and look like I have an attitude, but in reality, I'm playing out
Right.
scenarios in my
Exactly.
head on how I can get out of this
Right. And
situation.
then somebody called me, do something, get me out of this room. Like,
Yes. And sometimes it's a particular person or people, whatever, and sometimes it's
right.
not. Sometimes it's I gotta go. I'm tapped
Yeah.
out. I don't have any more to give to anybody. It's verbally, physically. I can't. You know. But I know for a lot of people, we got let's think about the opposite side of that, Stony. A lot of people that go through a lot of trauma and emotional circumstances as well, they actually indulge in being wanting that hug,
Right.
wanting to be spoken to, wanting to be around people. And what do you think about that?
That's true. I mean, I think it goes hand in hand. Some people want less, some people want more. I think it just depends too of what people. Some people don't under like. Some people were never given affection or never given the opportunity to get a hug or given the opportunity to speak. Somebody was always spoken over. So some people are not used to that, so they want that, and then they'll, sometimes it's a little too much sometimes because you never had that. You never had a chance to speak. You never were given a
Mhm.
hug. You were never included in something. So now that you're there, it's like you kind of don't know how to balance. Does that make sense? I'm sure you've
Yeah,
seen it.
because sometimes, yeah, I have, and it's like sometimes I'll see those people, and I'm like, I'm glad that you're embracing it, but at some point it becomes
Yeah,
people pleasing. At some point it becomes, not respecting people's
yeah,
boundaries. At some point it becomes just overwhelming for
it
a lot of
does.
people. You got to know when to stop it.
Yeah, and I think that's something
You
important too because the thing about it is I have anxiety. So when other people is too like too high up, it shoots. I mean, it shoots my anxiety sometimes. I'm like, hold on, what? I get nervous. I'm like, this person needs to sit down. They're a little bit too talky, too much talking too fast. It's talking, a little bit too touchy. This and that. And they don't mean. I know they don't
mm,
mean any harm by it, but you have somebody over here where they get overstimulated too quick. So they're on the left, like, okay, we done spoke already, said hi. Now we can just talk calm. We're done with the touchy stuff. And then over here, they're the complete opposite. They need to be seen. They want to be loud. They want to be this and this. And you done gave me about 10
yeah,
hugs already. You done spoke to me already. You're loud. And, it's a room of everybody's scared now. So,
yeah. I struggle with those kind of people because I didn't grow up with
yeah,
affection. But also, it's such a thing as too much
true.
affection, too much conversation, too much. It's such a thing as too much of anything,
Yes.
but it's too much. And a lot of people take that as rejection. It's like, I'm not rejecting you, I'm rejecting the behavior. It's too much. It's like, tone it
Right.
down. You good, but I need to be able to, my boundaries need to be
Mm.
able to be respected. Because if I give you one or two hugs, don't come in for the
Right.
third one.
At that point, it's a
You know what I
respect
mean?
thing now. We need to, okay, we get it. We all need to respect each other
Yeah,
now. So,
yeah, yeah. But I mean, nothing against those people. It's just everybody's different. You're either
yeah,
hyper, and after you've gone through a lot of, trauma, traumatic circumstances, or you're either a person that's standoffish
mhm,
and you still are loving and caring, but you just navigating and just chilling. You in the
right,
cut. You got some chill people. You got some extra. I'm just gonna be a ball of sunshine to
right.
everybody. But then I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna cry because I don't think everybody liked me. You know what I mean? That's how I think of those people a lot of times. They be like, I didn't think everybody
Yeah.
liked me because I didn't think I gave enough love.
And then a lot
You
of
gave
times
enough.
those people, when they go home, are broken because they're like overthinkers. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, did I do too much of this? Did I do too much of that? Did they look at me like this? Did I do too much of that? What did I say? What did I do? You know what I mean? Now you're alone and we're thinking, everybody else thinking like, oh my God, okay, now they're home. Goodbye. In reality, they're home crying, breaking down because they know they did too much. And a lot of people are overthinkers. I myself am an overthinker. So especially, some people are overthinkers in their own way. So you're gonna be either an overthinker, like, man, maybe I didn't talk too much, maybe I didn't show enough much, maybe I was doing this, maybe I was doing that. Meanwhile, you got the other
Mhm.
side. Oh my God, I think I talked too much. I did this too much. They don't like me. This, and that. So it's same thing. You just
Yeah.
got the same emotions for somebody that's more needs space because they get too much. It gets too shake too. You said the word earlier. Um, it's too much going on, and then you got the people that are making. They're the
Yeah.
ones that is doing too much, and they're themselves are breaking down at home because they're like, oh my God, maybe I did too much.
Yeah. I just always like when I think of a lot of people of like that are like that a lot of
Hmm.
times, I my heart goes out to a lot of
Yeah.
people because throughout my journey of healing, I've learned that the different gifts and callings and purpose I have in
Hmm.
life. But throughout the journey, it's being like a thing where I like to just relax and just sometimes just pay in the room, vibe
Yeah.
in the room. And it's just like a lot of times I'm like, those people, they are hurting just as much as the people that are standoffish
Yeah.
are hurting. But people tend to validate them because they're just like they're wanting a hug, they're wanting to talk, they're wanting to do all those things. But in reality, while you think you're helping them, you're actually
Yeah.
aiding them in feeling invalid.
Hmm.
They're just wanting somebody to see them. They waiting for the perfect moment for somebody to come up to them instead of saying, "You're so sweet, you're so awesome, you're so beautiful, you're so amazing, you're so this,
Yeah.
you're so that." All these great things. They're waiting for somebody to come to them and say, "Hey, I think you're an amazing individual.
Yeah.
I know that sometimes days are not always sunny. They're raining, there's thunderstorm. I can see that
Yeah.
there's things that you have gone through and you're challenged with. And I just want you to know that I see
Right.
you."
Yes.
Opposed to, "Oh my gosh, you're so
Right.
loving." And in reality, that person is giving you everything that they're not getting in
Right.
return.
Like they're broken. And it's funny that you mentioned that because I think that's kind of one of the things where, not all the time, but sometimes God will use us and bring a person bring them to you for a reason. You know what I mean? For you to, like those words that you
Mhm.
just said that they want to hear, sometimes they need to hear that. And sometimes God will bring a person in your life to give you those words instead of just saying, "Oh, I love you, percent, I love you, you're so cool, this, and that," you know. Because in reality, you're gonna go home and cry when you get home. It doesn't matter how many people say that you're broken. You're giving everything that you never were given that you want, but that's not gonna fix the problem. You need to hear, "Hey, that's how can we see that side of you, but you're broken. How can we?" I mean, not everybody's broken, but sometimes that's just you. But for the broken ones, you need somebody. You
Yeah.
need to hear. Let's fix you. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things where when that person is in your presence, look at it as a blessing. Open up that person because maybe their traumas can help you. You know, or maybe God.
Yeah.
Sometimes God will just give us the words that He wants us to say to somebody. You might didn't know the person, or you know, you can just deliver that message, and they need to hear it. And how they go home and take on it is up to them. You know, because
Mhm.
that's another thing. I don't have to know you to give you a message of what God's going to tell you.
Facts. Facts. All right. Great. Great response to that question. You ready to transition into
Ready?
another one? All right. I'm sorry. How does the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response, often seen in trauma, directly distort an individual's ability to engage with their emotional intelligence?
That's a tough one, but it's tough because it's something that I think people go through on a everyday battle. You know what I mean? Because most people that are dealing with fight or flight situations of their own traumas, it's going through their everyday life. Maybe going to the grocery store or even going to work. Like
Mm,
people shelter themselves that some people don't know how to deal with the situation when they're in fight or flight mode. Like somebody can say something to you, you could be because we live in a world where people are mean, people are nasty. You know what I mean? So you're not. You may have had a handful of people that surrounded you with positive things, like you're gonna be okay, and helped you get through your trauma. And it just takes one person or one situation or one um, flashback moment or one scenario where you're in where you have a flashback to bring you into fight or flight, and you don't know how to react. So you don't know, do you react? Do you lash out? Do you have like an episode, if that makes sense? Do you fight? Like, you know, how much can you fight? You know what I mean? It just takes one, and some people are dealing with that on an everyday battle at their jobs, just going out.
mhm.
Some people just learn to or just learning how to deal with it. And some people can't, you know.
Yeah, I remember I used to be a person. Look, it's a fight time. I'm a fight, but now I'm a person where I flight. When certain circumstances that I feel like is going to take
Hmm.
me out of character, or it's a certain instance like that I
Right.
worked hard to get to where I am. You already know that, Stoney. We've been knowing each other since 2015, so I worked to be hard to become the woman I am, and I don't want anything to take me back or take me away from
Amen.
that. So I tend to just I'm out
Yeah.
of there. You know what I mean? I'm in avoidance of it, but it's not good. Because sometimes it is good to avoid,
It,
other times it's not. But a lot of times it's because I don't want to be hurt and I don't want to deal with those
true.
emotions that come with being hurt. So
But
I gotta take a pause.
that also is good that you say that, because some people will always say, no, you have to deal with that. Say, no, you don't. So my thing is, as you, every, you know what you've been brought out of. You know what I mean? And that's why
Mhm.
we exit friends. We remove friends. We remove people out of our lives, family, friends, whoever. It doesn't matter, spouse, anybody. You get removed if you're gonna bring me anything that I fought my way out of. You already know that healing is hard.
Mhm.
Healing is not pretty. It's pretty at the end, but it's those years and even the current healing, it's not pretty. So even if that means like, hey, you got to get up out of here, this situation, you got to go. Even if that means that it's somebody's situation, you can't help everybody. I don't care what nobody says. You cannot help everybody. When you say what you got to say, you do your part. And at that point, if you're doing whatever you're doing, helping somebody get, or you're in a situation where you can possibly go back, you got to fly. You got to go, because it's too hard
Yeah.
to go back to where you came out of. So it's, most people say,
Yeah.
hey, don't, you don't leave. No, flight means not going back. And if that means protecting your peace, then you got to go. Let's fly up out of
Yeah.
there. I don't care if you're in the store and something's bringing you back. Get up out that store. Go to Walmart. Go to another store. Or you can be in the presence of somebody or even helping somebody. I'm sorry, this is too much. You got to go. Trauma,
Yeah.
no joke.
And I wholeheartedly agree. Did you remember that time um at Alorica? You said, I can't take this no more, and you was
I
out of there.
remember. Let,
You said, I
let that
can't
man
take
off
this. These people,
the.
that's your flight moment because you was like, oh no, this ain't it.
Right? I remember. Oh my God.
Bad. All right. We'll transition into another
Okay.
question. How might a deeper understanding of one's own emotional triggers stemming from past trauma empower individuals to respond differently in the present?
Oh, I mean, that kind of goes to the last question a little bit. Um, so a lot of times, I'm gonna say in my adult years, because there's a lot of things that I experience now that I didn't realize. Like, wow, I've been fighting that forever, and that was the reason why, was because of things from growing up or
Mhm.
things that I never fixed. Um, so a lot of times now I'm an adult. I know what my triggers are. I know what what's going to bring me back down. So I know when to, and again, not all the time, but most of the time, why you're not going to do this. Like, you're not going to go into a situation, you're not going to deal with something because it's going to trigger what you got your way out of. I'm not going to go back to that.
Mhm.
So I know if I open this conversation with somebody else, that's going to lead into emotions that I've dealt with that I don't want to open up. I'm having a conversation with somebody. I don't want to have that conversation because I know it's going to bring up damaged emotions that I took too long to get over. You know what I mean? Or you're not going to do something because whatever your situation is that you're going to do is going to lead you somewhat thinking, going back to your past that you fought your way out of. And if you fought, it's too hard. So You learn your triggers. You know what triggers you. You know what words can trigger you. You know what conversations can trigger you. You know going to
Ooh,
places what can trigger you. Even going down a memory lane that you have no business bringing back up can trigger you. So you know to let that
so
go.
I'm gonna tell you about triggers. People, no one tells you because I'm actually writing my second book, Stoney. I'm writing my second book. This one gonna be a good one.
Yes.
This is gonna be a good one. I'm gonna tell you the name when we
Okay.
get off. But this one's gonna be a great book, and I believe this one's gonna be a bestseller. But no one tells you that there is trauma
Mhm.
triggers and there are healing
Yep.
triggers. No one tells you that. And my trauma triggers are things that keep me on
Mhm.
autopilot. My healed triggers keep me at a place of just
Okay.
avoidance. Like I don't even get irritated with all this. I just be like, "Oh, whatever. Like leave me like why is it
Right.
bothering me?" You know what I mean? It's like it's not too much emotion up on that. Yes, it's the second book.
Mhm.
That's my sis today. Her name is Today.
Okay.
But yeah, but I I had to learn those things. Like I was talking to my therapist a couple weeks
Mhm.
ago and she told me, she was like, no, I actually told her, I said, people are actually in my face a lot. I said for the past like year or so. I said, I don't understand it. I said they're just like talking to me and wanting to have conversations with me and like, hey, wanting to get to know me. And it kind of threw me off because I'm like, okay, I grew up, I was not, I was told that I wasn't even a person desired in conversation or anything like that. But I also went through a lot, so I always kept my head
Mhm.
down. So I was talking to her about it. And she's just like, okay, so what are these people saying? I'm like, they're wanting to hang out, they're wanting to get to know me, or they're just like, hey, Destiny, they're wanting to hug me. And I'm like, this is new. And I told her, I said, I don't understand. I said, because I'm so used to a different vibe. But she told me, she said, do you know how dope you are? And I told her, I said, I do. She was like, well, why don't you think other people see that? I said, I didn't know. She said, I need you to start seeing you how
I
other
think I
people see you.
froze.
She said, oh no, I could see you. Uh-oh. 1 second, y'all. Get stuck back in here. Okay. But yeah, she told me, she said, I want you to see yourself the same way other
Mhm.
people see you. And I was like, okay, well, how am I supposed to know that? She was like, go off of how people are with you. And I was like, I didn't know I was that awesome. She's like, you are. She said, because do you not hear you speak? Do you not see the way you dress? Do you not see the healthiness of who you are now, Destiny? I was like, nah. Yeah. She said, that's what people see. You're a light, and they're attached to that. She's like, they're coming to that, and they're just like, oh my gosh, look at her. And I'm just sitting. She's like, you're sitting there looking like y'all can get away
Mhm.
from me. And she's like, no, they could come, you bring them close. It's okay. But we're going to learn the boundaries that goes with, hey, this person doesn't
Yes,
need to be
Lord.
that close. Or, hey,
Boundaries.
this person can actually, this person to be somebody at a distance.
Right.
So it's like I'm in my journey of learning boundaries in my
Yeah.
season of me, of understanding the value that I bring and knowing that I am an awesome person and that I am loved and cared about and that people do like my personality and I don't have to overthink in the environment of, oh my gosh, am I being
Right.
weird? Am I not saying anything? Or do I look like I have
Mhm.
attitude? Like, like, yeah.
And I like how you mentioned the positive triggers, because that's how I never thought about that. But now that I think about it now, it is certain things that even as us people do that are a positive trigger, or even being around somebody. Like, have you ever been around somebody and they're like, they're not saying it purposely. They're just like, I talk out loud. So a lot of people, for
Mm,
example, somebody can say something like, "Oh, I'm doing this because I know like this isn't. I don't know. I can't think of nothing right now. But for example, say somebody could say something like, "Oh, I'm not going over there because I already know that they're going to be doing X, Y, and Z, and I don't have time for that. I'm going to go over here where I can be peaceful and calm. You know what I mean? So you think of something like, oh, in your head, you're like, well, I need to go with her because that's a positive trigger. I don't want to go over there because that's going to make me think like, oh, mess up my anxiety and run my triggers back. And, just little things like that, like little things that people say, and it makes you smile in your head like, that was a positive trigger. That's what I needed to hear. She says she does this because of that. She says she cuts the air on during this time because she gets it's hot at this, just little things like that that you can relate to in your life. That is something positive that you can say, okay, I'm
Mhm.
not going left because that's gonna do it. They're going left over here, but I know if I go over there, that's gonna take me back. But I'm still thinking I'm gonna go there versus somebody over here just said, hey, I'm going over here because it's gonna bring me peace. And then you're like, well, dang, I didn't
Mhm.
think about going over there, but that's a positive trigger. You know what I mean? A healing trigger, something healing. Just not in that
Mhm.
scenario. I just can't think of a scenario, but I think you get what I mean.
Yeah, that's good because it's like a lot of people that you identified that you didn't
Mm-hmm.
know it then, but you know that now. Like we have positive triggers, y'all, just as much we had them negative, them unhealed triggers that happen. Sometimes those are the ones, the healing triggers are the ones that's just telling us like, hey, look, go ahead.
Right.
Like my heart's just fluttering around this person, or oh my gosh, this person's just this is a nice
Right.
environment. Instead of just being like, you know what, let me just thug it out and let them know I ain't somebody to be messed with. Instead, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna flutter with the environment. I love this, and I'm learning that because before I used to be like, I don't have the feelings that go with this environment because I was never
Right.
exposed to it. So I'm sitting in an environment where everybody's laughing and having fun, and I'm like, I don't know nothing about
Yeah.
this. So I'm sitting there looking mad crazy, and they just like, why she look angry?
I don't know how that.
I've never talked. I've never been exposed to this environment to have those
Right.
experiences. Exposure equals experiences, which equals wisdom.
That makes sense. You said it. It's hit it right on that. That's
You know, yeah. So it's like a lot of times we don't know how much the environments that we are in a lot of times are either healing or
right.
damaging. Like I had a healing moment this weekend, and it was beautiful for me because I was able to be in the environment and just laugh and enjoy
Right.
myself and feel I'm in the moment without having to feel like someone's making me feel less
Mm-hmm.
than. Because I don't like being in negative environments. I don't like being in ignorant environments. I don't like being in none of that. That's a quick way for me to never come back. I'm just keeping it real. I'm not gonna come back. But there's certain people I really enjoy, and I enjoyed a lot of people this weekend. And one thing I love to do is laugh.
Same
And
here.
you know that's Stoney because we laughed a lot.
Right.
We laughed a lot. That me cracking up. Yeah. But but yeah, God has definitely been
Amen.
good, and in that, I'm really grateful that God put that on my heart to be able to talk about, just to be able to expose the fact that we have healing
Amen.
triggers and
Yep.
we have trauma triggers. So I challenge people on this podcast that's watching me, learn some of your healing triggers because not everything that is triggering you is
That
negative
is true.
or trauma related. It's not always. All right, so we get into a few more of these questions. All right. All right. What is the distinction between intellectual understanding of emotional intelligence and the embodied experience of it in the healing journey?
What do you mean?
Okay. So what I mean is like when an intellectual understanding is like it's tying you towards the knowledge of, hey, I went through all of these things, but it also I gained a respective understanding. So when I'm in an environment and someone else is acting that behavior or I'm acting in that behavior, I have knowledge of that.
Okay, that's a good question actually. So it's funny that you say that because since I know myself, I learned my own self, I learned my own triggers, I learned my own things, and it took years for that. I know my triggers, I know how my behavior is. I learned to observe others as well. You know what I mean? I've always been an observative person. So I could tell when a person is, so I know when I'm having my own experience, I'm sorry, my own, if that makes sense, and I can see it in the other person. So that makes me want
Hmm.
to help the person. Like, I know other people are around and they're looking at this person like, oh, they're just crazy, or who knows what they're gonna do to this person. So it's kind of my way of, in a heartful way, showing, hey, I understand, and I go through that a lot at work. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have a lot of coworkers that deal with a lot and have went through a lot of traumas or are dealing with a lot of mental health, if that makes sense as well. And I kind of can
Mm,
see whenever I have a way to, without airing their business or letting them know, hey, I know what you're going through, just a way to, put them back in their own zone so they can kind of shatter their own self, like,
mm,
okay, he knows, so I need to calm down right now, or I need to go reevaluate myself really quick because clearly he saw himself in me just right now. You know what I mean? There's a reason I went and talked to
mm,
you just now, and you don't even have to do it in a disrespectful way or in a nosy way, because I've done it many times, just like people have done to me that have have never didn't even go into my business, but have helped me without, because I saw, it's like a shadow. You see your own self on the outside, or you observe the person. I know this behavior from myself, or maybe it's not myself. I know this behavior from somebody else, or I know this behavior because I
mm.
observed somebody else with that before, and I know that it can get bad. Let me help this person. Let me just sit them down a little bit without letting them know I'm in their business or letting them feel any type of way.
Yeah. And it's hard sometimes seeing yourself in
Mm,
other people, especially when you're on
oh,
your healing journey. Because it's like, look, I came from that. I don't know
yeah.
about that. I'm still in remission.
Hmm.
I'm good. God still working on me. I don't know if I can help, but I'm gonna pray for somebody else to
Right.
help. But oh, on that subject, have you ever met some people or individuals that have not met themselves deeply yet, emotionally, mentally, or just physically, all those areas, that they'll have somebody in front of them that God is meaning for them to connect with, but they're praying for someone else to come connect with them.
Absolutely. I've had people that have conversations to me of people, and that there's been people I've talked to. I realize I can't be that for you. I'm sorry. I'm gonna listen to you. I'm gonna pray for you, but I can't be that. That's God didn't send me in your direction. It's not. This is not for me. But I've had people that have talked about people, and they think a lot of times they think they're the enemy. You know what I mean? Because they think that this person is like a movie, is just supposed to come over and heal them and say, "Hey, I'm the healer. I'm this person." You know what I mean? Like I'm God. I'm not.
Mm,
That's what they think. In reality, a lot of times that enemy that you're saying, they're the enemy. They're enemy. They told me this. They told me that. They're really not. They're telling you what you need to hear. They're trying to help you. They're trying to heal you. You know what I mean? A lot of time God sent that person, and you don't want to look past them because they're telling you what you need to be told. You know what I mean? Or it might sometimes it is the person that helped break you, and sometimes they healed, and sometimes you know their guilt that they're living with. Sometimes after they're healed, it's like they'll come back in your life like, I gotta help you now. And that doesn't happen all the time. But sometimes that does happen. We think because you were the enemy forever, you were the one that played a control in breaking me. Now you're calling me to come to therapy with you. You're telling me, hey, I'm sorry. You're telling me, I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm telling you, how dare you tell me what I shouldn't do? But you did that. You did this to me. You broke me. You did this to me. But in reality, that person is, maybe they went through their own journey, and now they got to help you. But sometimes we look past that.
true. I tend to think like when it comes to people that like haven't gone through things or they are going through things, they again it goes to that exposure to the experience type
Yeah,
thing. No, they
that's
don't.
true.
Now you just chuck it up to that because if you're around somebody too long, like not to get on the older generation, that's like
Hmm.
50 and up, more like 60 and up. You know how they react
Right.
with things and sweep it under the rug or hey, get
That's
over it.
true.
It didn't
You're
kill you.
not
It's like
depressed. You're
first
not this. You're fine. And none of when in
yes,
reality, they had their
yes,
own traumas that they never worked through. You know what I mean? And sometimes
right.
I call it, I think that's part of the generational curse too. You never, I came to you for love, but you told me it's they sometimes they don't know that they were wrong. You know what I mean? Because that's how they were grown up, how it was back in the day, rough and hard. So you put that on your kids, and really you just wanted somebody to talk to or love, affection, this and that. And you sometimes these older people, like you mentioned, now are family members who are in their 60s and their 70s, and they finally listen and they apologize, and they can probably tell you, hey, I didn't know. This is how I was raised. So I just did the same thing
Yeah.
and not realizing, well, hey, that was a generational curse. And people are more emotional now, and people are getting
Mm.
more in tune with their emotional side and with which is good because that'll make you a better person. It'll make you a better parent, you know. So we can break these generational curses as okay, well, this is what my mom did to me, so clearly it was right. But if it was right, then
Right.
why do you
Why do
why
you
didn't you
feel
like it?
it?
So, and a lot of people that say that, they do that to their kids, and they're like, oh, well, my mom had a rough life and she did this to me. Somebody's got to break down, even if it means that we got to get in tune with our emotional side, get more into the,
Mhm.
mental health side. You got to do what you got to do to break them curses and show your kids love so they can show somebody else love, so they can show a stranger love and help another child and help this person and that person.
Yeah. Because when they say that, well, don't kill you, make you stronger, it frustrates me when people say that sometimes. But sometimes it do
Yeah.
apply. Other times it don't. Because when something just detrimentally it gets to you, it is
Yeah.
killing you. They don't understand, trauma, certain things that we deal with, words hit
Oh,
the
yeah.
brain and it kind of it
Hmm.
alters it. But also at the same time, it could alter the brain so much that the brain chemistry starts sending signals to the body that it's sick. That's why you got high blood
Right.
pressure. That's why you got heart disease. That's why you got diabetes. That's why you got your bones are feeling, you know, like they breaking and
Right.
they aching. That is your body telling you that it's breaking itself down and it's dying slowly because what we don't talk about
That
kills
is true.
us. And some of those times when they say they're not kill you makes you stronger, it only thing is making you stronger in is not dealing with the simple fact of the things that have hurt you. And it's making your body turn into
Right.
steel. It's stiffening up your body and it's stiffening up you. It's okay to let that stuff out. We come on now, find a therapist. Therapists are there to hold you responsible for the things that you want to work
Amen.
on,
Yep.
or just find some type of form of therapy. Don't keep that inside you all because that is what's killing you, especially in the African American culture. We got to be more
Yeah.
vocal, not verbally abusive, vocal with how we're feeling, not sometimes to the person that's hurting us or the people, to actually someone.
True.
Get a therapist, get into paint therapy, get into something, start journaling, get into
Right.
podcasting, but do it appropriately because we are in the canceling, you know, generation. They will cancel you fast. You get on and start talking about,
Exactly. Right.
be mindful on
That
that.
is true.
But yeah, we just got to be mindful of all these different things of what are we allowing ourselves to receive, because anything that hurts us and makes us emotional, we're actually
Right.
ingesting that, we're taking that in, and our body is sending signals of, okay, well, if you don't eject that out, you're going to be
That is
sick,
true.
you're going to have colds, you're going to have your diabetes going to act up, high blood pressure going to act up, all of these things are going to start acting up with your
Right.
body. So start talking about those things. Start being emotional. Cry. Ain't nothing wrong with crying. Ain't nothing wrong with being angry and frustrated and overwhelmed. It's nothing wrong with that. Just continue just to breathe. I know it's harder said than done, but it's like the Whitney Houston movie, Waiting to Exhale. You know what I mean? It's nothing wrong with exhaling and then being able to come right back into the situation and the predicament itself, and being able to better express
Hmm.
yourself. So stop letting them emotions in, because what that term, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. No, it's killing you,
Literally.
and it's time to deal with it. Time to deal with it. Time to deal with it. I got about three more questions
Okay.
for you, Stoney. Then I boom. What role does forgiveness, both of self and others, play in the triumph over trauma? And how does it connect to people's emotional intelligence?
It's a good question, and I think it's an important question too. So, you have to forgive. Forget you have to forgive yourself first, because you have to understand that we are not perfect. You know what I mean? And a lot of times when you heal, you realize a lot of the roles that you played in your life and maybe in others' life, it was not, you were not always the victim. You know what I mean? So you have to forgive yourself. Always forgive yourself first for allowing yourself to get to where you got, allowing yourself to hurt others, because a lot of times we make excuses. Well, this is what happened to me, so it is what it is. You know what I mean? That's what we do. So forgive yourself first for hurting yourself, for hurting others, and then forgive others. You don't have to tell other people that you forgive them. Heck, a lot of the people that have hurt you, you've already dismissed them. So I'm not gonna call somebody that I've already dismissed because they brought no good into my life. They were the reason that I had to go into the healing process. Say, hey, I forgive you. I'm gonna forgive you. I'm gonna say your name. Hey, I forgive you. I'm and I'm gonna keep it moving, because your heart can feel that. You know what I mean? You can just say, "Oh, I forgive you," and not mean it. But when your heart knows, like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I forgive you," and however like, I think I don't know how to explain it, because I've done it. I've forgiven people that I've never spoke to, and I don't know if that's the Lord or what, but I feel it in my heart, like I needed to say that. And then when I truly meant it, and I said I forgive myself, or I forgive so and so for whatever, you know, you feel at peace. And there are some people that are still in our lives that you did not dismiss, that you can apologize to. I mean, I've apologized to many people that I'm like, wow. Growing up, I was like, even to my siblings, I've apologized. It was not easy, and I never realized that I needed to apologize to them, and I didn't know that they needed to hear me to apologize. There was a lot of problems that I didn't know were a problem. I didn't know I played a factor in X, Y, and Z. I didn't know I played a factor in this. I didn't know that they needed to be talked about, because I just thought things were normal, and it wasn't. So with apologizing, it gives peace to them. Like, I didn't know that I was that peace you needed. I didn't know you needed me to apologize to you. I felt it, and I was like, well, maybe they don't know. But no, what you tell them the right person, open conversations, and that's more healing. You can go into their healing journey. Hey, he done called me
Mm-hmm.
and told me he apologized. I didn't never wanted to bring up the conversation, because I didn't think he thought about it, or I didn't want it to affect him. You just helped your healing process. You felt good, and you helped their healing process. That 99% of the time, you didn't know they were going through a healing process.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
apologies. I don't care what nobody else. Some people say you don't. Yes, apologies. They help. They heal. They help the healing process. Especially if you are a parent. I don't know if whoever's a parent out there. A lot of times You're not perfect, and that's okay, because people make mistakes. You know what I mean? People make Or sometimes working on themselves. So your kids sometimes want to hear you. Hey, you know what? I wasn't always whatever. I apologize. And if you truly mean that, that means a lot to your children. You
Mm.
know.
I hope my mom watching this. Apologies help.
Yes, they do.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, mom. I'm kidding.
I'm sorry.
Mm. All right, I got one. I have
Okay.
three more questions. Looking looking beyond personal healing, how can the principles of emotional intelligence be applied to create more compassionate and resiliency in society?
I mean, people watch you, you know. So if you're a healed person and you're out there being a positive person to other people, people click onto your vibe. They click onto how you are. You know what I mean? So if you're this positive person, always speaking positive, always talking about how to heal somebody, and you look healed, and I mean, I don't think healed has a look, because we all hide things in. But if you show that you're healed and you speak positive and you share your journeys with others, that'll make other people like realize, hey, heck, I need to heal myself. Maybe this is what I did wrong. Just from having, you can have a whole conversation with somebody, and they can talk, and you can tell your whole healing journey. Or without healing journey, this is what you could do, what you should have done, how you could do it. And they don't even know that you're helping
Yeah.
them with just your story, your word of wisdoms. So that makes them go be a better person to their family, their friends, a stranger, the coworker, yourself, because we beat ourselves up too, thinking that we're
Yeah.
just a strong person and we're not as strong as we think we are. So with taking all that, you become a better person, and you're like, because
Mhm.
people want to be a good person, Sometimes we beat ourselves up trying to please the world and let everybody else be a better person and help this person and that. In reality, you got to make yourself a better person, and you got to heal. So you made a talk to me, and I told you my healing process or what helped me, and that could help you realize, well, dang, I need to heal myself. I'm still healing. I thought I was done healing. Your energy feeds onto
Mhm.
others.
It does. It definitely does. That's beautifully said, everything that you
Thank you.
just said. Like, this got me deeply thinking. Wow. And last but not least, the last
Hmm.
question. What does true triumph over turbulence look like when viewed through the lens of emotional intelligence?
Got a question for you. What is triumph?
To be able to, you conquer the situation. It's another way just to be like, I
Okay.
conquered that. Like,
Okay.
yes.
So ask the question again now.
What does true triumph over turbulence look like when viewed through the lens of emotional
Oh, okay.
intelligence?
Um, I mean, like an accomplishment for one, because like I said, everybody from on the outside from another person, they just see that you look healed, but they don't know that some
Hmm.
people took years to get to where they are. You know what I mean? So while you're looking at me like, oh, I love her energy, I love his energy, I love this person that they are, or you might have seen me for known me for 10 years. Oh, I just love this person. And sometimes we think like, hey, they've never had any issues, have they? Because they're just this happy person. But you didn't know me 10 years ago. You didn't know
Hmm.
me 15 years ago. You didn't know me 20 years ago. You didn't know me my 5 years where I was fighting and crying to God and, losing faith in the Lord because I'm thinking, okay, Lord, why am I not there yet? I've done everything. I've done everything. Or you're questioning yourself, questioning God. So for you to get through a stone, sometimes it's not just, okay, today is July the 7th. I'm healed. Sometimes you don't know you're healed until years later. You think about it and you're like, wow, you know what, Lord?
Yeah.
Or you know what, Destiny? Or you know what, so and so? I never realized I was healed. I've been so happy all these years. There's I didn't put a date marker on it that today I choose to be happy. Because if that was the case, everybody would put today's date. I want to be happy today, or I am. So there's really no. I don't think there really is like oh, I beat that triumph until you realize after conversating with somebody else of what they view of you, and that's when you think. So I think
Mhm.
it can be you don't really think that until you have a conversation. You're like, wow, 10 years ago you wouldn't have said that if you knew me. You wouldn't have said that if you knew me 15 years ago. You wouldn't have said that if you saw
Yeah.
me 5 years. You'd probably think, get away from this crazy person, because or call the police on them, or they're crazy, they need a therapist. You know what I mean? So you don't think about,
Yeah.
dang, I beat a milestone, and it's been 5 years
That's
that
the
I've
one.
been feeling like this.
And that's the one right there because I think, and I'm gonna share this because I think a lot of people, just to off of what you said, a lot of people don't understand a lot of these things like this, but or they may experience the
Mhm.
same thing I experienced. Um, Sometimes I feel like I become so healed that who I used to be is no longer
Yeah.
relevant, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, and that bothers me because it's like I don't never want to forget where
Mhm.
I came from. But also at the same time, if I drown that out and I allow my mind, because the mind is so powerful, it can make you think things, but it also make you forget
Yeah.
things. And I don't want to forget that because then I forget those things. Then it makes me forget why I'm triggered. So I make it my thing to remind myself this is where you had
Yeah.
to come from. But also at the same time, this is where you are. So you have to always try that healing by that trauma and sometimes try the trauma by the healing because a lot of times the circumstances are going to bounce back and forth.
That is true.
But you got to find some common ground to understand that sometimes healing and trauma are going to be
Oh
evident at the same
yes.
time. They are. It's just going to play blame, go play with that. But I also have found for myself is that I feel like I may not have been healed
Mhm.
enough or healed enough to be able to entertain certain relationships or certain circumstances. So I tend to take a step back and be like, nah, I don't know too much
Right.
about that because maybe I'm not equipped yet for that. And I feel like God be like, did I tell you that?
That is true.
But you did tell me though, God. So I don't know.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like knowing to be patient with yourself throughout your healing journey and being patient with yourself when you're in the means of trauma because healing is linear and trauma takes a lifetime period.
Oh
Just
yeah.
it's just things. It's going to be a domino effect of things as you go. Be patient with yourself and gentle with yourself. So if somebody's not being patient and gentle
Hmm.
with you, cool. Push them to the
Right.
side. Be patient and gentle with you, and get around people that are going to be patient and gentle with you as
That is
well, because that is very important throughout your healing journey, and also through you processing your trauma. Because sometimes processing your trauma is a beautiful thing because you're learning things about yourself that you're going to soon unlearn. And what I mean by that is who you are in your trauma is not who you are in your healing. What you desire in your trauma is not what you're gonna desire in your healing. Food is gonna taste different. Environments are gonna
true.
look different. You're gonna look different. You're gonna be brighter looking. All of that. Embrace that. You know, don't be so in a hurry to heal. Don't be in such a hurry to forget trauma. You know what I mean? Don't. It's just things. Process those
Right.
things because you'll go too fast and you'll realize that hey, I don't know why I'm feeling this way, or hey, how did I get here? It's okay. It's okay. It's like a newborn
Right.
baby going from a newborn baby to a toddler. It's stages. Allow yourself to go through
Right.
those stages because those very moments are what's going to be pivotal in you moving forward in the calling that you have in your life. So be patient with yourself, and nobody else is. But embrace those moments, even the bad ones, because you're gonna look back and be like, well, you know what? Back then, I wouldn't have thugged this out the way I
Right.
am now.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's very well said, actually. I mean, but it's kind of like one of those
yeah,
things where, going back to your question when you said, I'm sorry, not your question, but your comment where you said sometimes you think, oh, maybe I'm not equipped to tell this person that. Sometimes if you feel, I feel personally feel like if you don't feel like you should tell somebody something, then maybe you shouldn't because we all take information differently. Maybe what I tell you about what I did may not be something that I should tell them, or maybe somebody else's
mhm,
version of telling them is different. You know what I mean? Like I might have told you, do do this, do that, and the way they saw it was, okay, I need to do this, do that, and they ended up pulling themselves
mhm,
back 10 times. Maybe they weren't strong enough to do that, and versus somebody else can explain to them differently and more softer or differently. And I mean, sometimes you just got to follow your own stone. Like we can't really follow what everybody, because
yeah,
everybody's healing is different. Like what I tell you, what works for me, and vice versa, may not be the same. And I may make you go worse than what you were, or you may make me go worse than what I am, depending on how I take that information. You know, sometimes the information I'm supposed to give you is not meant for me to tell you. It's meant for somebody else, or nobody at all. It's something you got to fight within yourself. Not everything,
yeah.
not all of the messages that I have is meant for another person. Like my message may not be for you, your message may not be for me.
Facts. Because I can tell you right now, the turbulence to triumph
Hmm.
piece in this actual thing, when I put it together for you, when God said this is a topic to give to you, for me, I had to realize my turbulence to my triumph is the circumstance of someone coming in and it challenges me to be a individual. It challenges me to go to that next
Right.
level that God wants me to be. That's my turbulence because it's shaking stuff up. It's like, whoa, hold up. I need this to be
Right.
steady. Like, you know, it's kind of like you a flight attendant. So you know how that turbulence be. And you're an international flight attendant. So come on now. You in the air a long time. So it's kind of like a person that's going through trauma circumstance. They up there. You flying on that plane for a long time. The turbulence is going on. It's a lot of moving. It's a lot of things that's going on in the atmosphere. It's like my turbulence is just like okay, like this is shaking it up
Right.
for me. And I'm just like sitting here and I'm just like, you know what? Gosh, I'm gonna keep on
Mm,
shaking it up. Because I said, go ahead and move yourself out of this circumstance. Because what happens with turbulence, they say we're moving through a bumpy what is a spot in the sky or whatever, and we're going to be flying through something, so it doesn't last. Turbulence
that
doesn't
is true.
last, but sometimes turbulence is going to continue on. um but my turbulence is a challenge for me to go to another level of emotional intelligence in my season
Right.
right now, because it's like, okay, I'm going to another level of emotional intelligence, emotional competency. And it's like, okay, all right, that takes another level of me. But I know when I get to embracing that, that's going to be triumph for me, because that's going to be something that God is using to more, to help me more aid into my
Exactly.
calling, which is people, places, things, circumstances, to be able to speak life into people. And it's like, if I'm rejecting God on the fact of Him telling me to do this, I'm not really pushing myself to the next
Right.
level, and that overall, it's just important to be emotionally and intelligent in areas, not fully cognitive, because nobody's going to be fully cognitive to know what emotional intelligence is applied in every
That is true.
environment unless you're exposed. Unlike you, Stoney, which how many countries have you been to?
Too many to. I should probably mark them down, but I'm too many.
Right. So you have an emotional intelligence and exposure and experience that some of us may
Yeah.
not have. So, yeah. But as we wrap this up, is there any more questions? Is there any questions that you have for me?
No, I think we kind of went over everything, which yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody, about to wrap this up. As we wrap up today's insightful discussion with Stoney Allen on Turbulence to Triumph, the importance of emotional intelligence, remember that your healing journey is unique and powerful. Embracing mindful moments truly paves the way for prosperous lives. And we're here to support you every step of the way. If you found value in our conversation today, please consider subscribing to Persperity Podcast for more safe spaces for healing from trauma. You can also connect with me and Stoney on all social media platforms, and that's STONEY, name on the screen, on all platforms to continue this conversation. Join me next Monday at 6 p.m. Central Time for another empowering episode of Prosperity Podcast. I want to thank you again,
Thank you.
Stoney. And it's good seeing your face and connecting with you, because it's been
Right.
years. And thank you. I'm going to play my theme song and we're
Right.
outie. Thank you. Right.
In the shadows we find our light. Through the struggles we will take flight. Healing hearts and mending minds. Together we'll leave the past behind. Welcome to Prosperity Podcast.